Well, in Luke chapter 24, Jesus appears to his disciples after the crucifixion, after he's been dead and after resurrection. And if anyone should have been prepared for the resurrection, it was his buddies, his friends. They had followed Jesus. They listened to him teaching and preaching for 3 years, watched him perform miracles. But when Jesus appears, they're not expecting him. They don't high five one another and say, "Hey, man, we knew it. We were wondering when you would get here." Luke says they were startled, terrified. They thought they were seeing a ghost. Now, we sometimes assume that ancient people believed in resurrection because, well, they weren't not nearly as scientifically informed as we are. But you didn't need modern medicine to understand death. People in the first century watched people die. They prepared bodies and buried family members. They knew what death looked like. So the disciples were terrified because dead people did not normally show up for dinner. And Jesus asks, "Why are you guys frightened? Why do doubts arise in your hearts?" I love the way Jesus responds here. He doesn't criticize them for lack of faith. He doesn't, tell them that they should have studied harder or listened better or listened more carefully. He meets them in their confusion. And then Jesus asks for something to eat, and they give him a piece of fish. And it's a strange and almost boring detail. I mean, if you were inventing the story, you could give it way more drama. Jesus could fly over Jerusalem. He could, appear with some Stan Lee kind of flair or move between dimensions like Doctor Strange. Instead, Jesus eats a fish. And Luke includes this because he wants his readers to understand the claim being made here. The disciples were not saying that the soul of Jesus lived on or that they could still feel his influence. They were not saying, Jesus will always be alive in our hearts. No, they believed. They believed they had encountered Jesus alive in a body. And I appreciate so much that the writers of the Bible put in these kinds of details. Can we prove that it happened? Well, it depends on what we mean by proof, I suppose. We cannot place the resurrection in a laboratory and repeat it under controlled conditions. We're dealing with history, and historians examine documents. They look at testimony, cultural context, and the consequences of an event.